We are hearing from the Johnson County Sheriff for the first time since he announced his resignation at last night's County Quorum Court meeting. We first told you about this last night, that Sheriff Tom Hughes voiced his frustrations on what he says was a lack of cooperation from the county in hiring a sexual assault detective. Today, though, he told us he had been considering resigning due to health issues. We asked the sheriff the biggest issue his successor will face, and his answer: keeping deputies on the payroll.
We don't have the money to raise pay. However, our deputies and jailers are getting paid about 20% less than surrounding areas. It makes it really hard to keep staffing when they can come here and we can train them and they can go somewhere else and make a couple of dollars more per hour.
Johnson County Judge Tom Hughes said an official resignation has not been received, but once he does, the Quorum Court will declare a vacancy and move forward. Hughes says he gave a resignation date of May 1st. Washington County Quorum Court denying the conditional use permit for that proposed concrete plant at Prairie Grove. Plant saw a lot of pushback from residents who said it would bring a lot of problems to that area. Plant was to be built near Highway 62 on a 7-acre piece of property. Residents have been protesting the plant for months. A petition against it, in fact, gathered more than 1,400 signatures. Company from Kansas, O'Brien Ready Mix, was behind the plant. They already have a location in Gentry, which the owner claimed a good example of their compliance with environmental regulations.
Again, we understand, and I understand, the environmental and quality of life concerns, and I believe we have addressed those proactively. Our track record proves we operate responsibly in residential adjacent areas without issues.
You have the right to come out there. You have a right to buy the land, but you have a right to hit them in the nose with concrete dust and waste. And I don't think you do.
We ask that this facility be denied and forced to locate to an appropriate industrial zone, not a residential agricultural community where it could cause lasting harm to health, safety, property values, and the environment.
Several Quorum Court members acknowledged the need for a plant, but said the proposed location was the wrong place for it. The Quorum Court denied that plant permit. At the state capitol, a circuit judge ruled an Arkansas law requiring ballot initiatives to collect signatures from more counties is unconstitutional. Arkansas Act 236 required citizen-led ballot initiatives to get signatures from Arkansans in at least 50 counties. A Pulaski County judge says that conflicts with the state constitution, which says initiatives only need the signatures from 15 counties. State Attorney General's office says they plan to appeal today's ruling. $51.8 million and growing. That's how much Arkansans lose to fraud and scams every year. Lawmakers and experts from across the state met to discuss how to fight back. Carter Thweet has the numbers and some possible solutions.
73% of U.S. adults have experienced some type of online scam or cyber attack.
That number set the stage for Friday's meeting at the state capitol complex. Lori Trogdon presented it. She's the CEO of the Arkansas Bankers Association.
Romance scams, catfishing, tech support scams. And like I said, we have bankers and others here today to share more about what they're experiencing. But some of the most common tactics are spoofed bank telephone numbers.
That's when a caller appears on your phone as a bank or trusted organization, but isn't. It can be very convincing. Brandon Moss with First Security Bank shared stories of customers scammed out of significant amounts of money.
She was the victim of several other scams that we discovered with a total loss to her of $44,000. A wire for $1.1 million. That we fortunately were able to recover for our customer working with the receiving bank, but that's most often not the case.
Other presenters included representatives from the State Attorney General's office and the American Bankers Association. Many offered ideas for future legislation aimed at reducing fraud.
You can all pass legislation, which Senator Johnson referred to, in 2027 to hold telemarketing companies and social media platforms accountable if they knowingly facilitate fraudulent calls, text, or ads on their platforms.
State Senator Mark Johnson said the levels of fraud discussed were frightening, and he wants to do something about it.
We need to make an example of some of these fraudsters where others will see that there is a downside risk to trying to defraud people, and you could very well end up going to jail, not just paying restitution or a fine, but going to jail.
Was Carter Thweet reporting. Now, seniors are hit the hardest. More than half of all money lost coming from people 60 and older. All this data from the FBI's 2024 report. The 2025 report has not yet been released. New tonight at 10, the U.S. Marshals and Springdale Police say they made more than 300 arrests during a joint operation this week. Three-day operation focused on individuals wanted for serious drug and violent offenses. Police say they seized multiple firearms, 95 grams of fentanyl, and 4 pounds of meth. The operation also led to a quote, major animal cruelty investigation being launched. Police say they cleared more than 100 arrest warrants in total.
It started off with focusing on warrants and individuals that were wanted for certain things. And I mean, a certain number of this was from focusing and like saturating areas with law enforcement in certain areas.
Springdale Police told us the operation was months in the making. Other agencies involved include State Police, Homeland Security, DEA, and ATF.
These crimes are not unique to Springdale or new to Northwest Arkansas. They've existed in the area for several years, and I'm glad that we're able to get the resources behind them now to properly investigate them and hold those accountable who are victimizing our communities.
A missing child was also recovered by police, but Chief Wright says he could not give any more details. We're getting new numbers on how many electric vehicles there are in Arkansas. Now, there was an increase in registration statewide last year, but there was a decrease in Sebastian and Crawford counties. The Arkansas Department of Finance says more than 11,000 EVs are registered in the state, 2,000 of them, or 2,000 more than 2024. That only makes up less than 1% of the total vehicle registrations in Arkansas. DFA says Arkansas is still a truck state.
It's the Chevy Silverado, the GMC Sierra, and the Ford F-150. And between those three, you have, a couple 100,000, if actually more than that, driving those vehicles alone. So we remain a truck state, and it's going to take a lot of EV sales to change that.
Martin says Benton County has by far the most EV registrations, 1,000 more than second place Pulaski County. It was a night where everyone is treated like kings and queens. The 10th annual Night to Shine happening tonight in Fort Smith. This prom-style event gives a chance for everyone to be celebrated. 5 News reporter Lauren Spencer shows us why this event is so important to the kings and queens themselves and the entire community.
It's Fort Smith's favorite night.
And the goal is to make our special friends feel special, the kings and queens of the prom, which is just amazing.
Night to Shine returns for its 10th year.
What we've seen in 10 years, we've seen relationships grow. We've seen real friendships come about because of this.
It's a night everyone looks forward to, from the honored guests to the volunteers.
Dan Bob's my good friend.
This year, 418 kings and queens and 440 volunteers filled West Ark Church of Christ for a night they won't forget.
Our friends with special needs, they live very different lives than we do. But their lives are just as precious, just as important, and just as purposeful.
From the dressing up.
Oh my goodness, you're so sparkly and you look awesome. It takes me almost all day to get ready.
To the dancing. To the limo rides.
Walking through the swordsmen when they hold up the swords.
Everyone has their favorite part of the night.
I love to get to hang out with my sister, but aside from that, I just love the fun atmosphere.
But at the heart of it all, everyone's there for the same reason.
Realizing how much joy you get out of just being here for someone else.
Making sure every guest feels celebrated and like the best version of themselves.
We want them to feel like the absolute stars of the night because that's what they are. This is their night to shine. This is their moment.
In Fort Smith, covering news where you live, Lauren Spencer, 5 News.